never thought I'd make an astrological video, but I thought, I should put up something where I could talk about combinations that have created a major impact in my life, and majorly because most of the relationships that I've had in my life are pretty intense and very personal, and I'm not somebody who socializes a lot. So today we are going to be talking about Moon Saturn conjunction in Synastry. So Moon Saturn conjunction happens in a way where it is the Moon person who's initially pursuing the Saturn person. There is a very high possibility that the Saturn person doesn't even know about the existence of the Moon person. The Moon person, when she pursues or when he pursues the Saturn person, has a preconceived idea of how this relationship is going to be. So the Moon person pursues the Saturn person with a preconceived idea of how this relationship is going to start and how it's going to go and how it's going to end. And this particular trigger that starts this relationship is often karmic. And since I am bringing in my personal experiences with this, there is often a connection to somebody that you and the Saturn person knows. So there is like a karma clearing between three people that is happening, but when this begins, you don't really know about it. You really don't think about it. You just pursue like it's a duty. The Moon thinks it's her duty to pursue or even initiate the conversation with the Saturn person. The Saturn person initially is taken aback because the Moon is often more intense in the beginning of the relationship. And initially it doesn't seem like the Saturn person is interested in the Moon. So the Moon doesn't want to give up, so the Moon tries harder. And eventually the Saturn person gives in. The Saturn person has an idea about the Moon, but like any stages of an initial part of a relationship, it's just a facade that the Moon is putting up to attract the Saturn person. The Moon likes the Saturn person. The Moon wants the Saturn person's approval. So she is doing a very good job of getting his approval. And eventually, the Saturn person approves. I'm only talking about a romantic relationship here. If this was father-daughter relationship or a mother-daughter relationship, I would have to put in a few seconds to come up with the right words to talk to you, but let's just talk about romantic aspects. So that's where it begins. The need to please the Saturn person. The Moon loves to please the Saturn person. The Saturn person adores the Moon because she is all for him. There is no possibility of promiscuity in this relationship. There is no possibility of cheating. There's no real possibility of another person, a third party. There is the sense of intense, focused attention towards each other. This runs for quite some time, and it's what gets this relationship glued. I mean, this is the major attraction. If you've been in a Moon Saturn relationship for a very long time, it's that was the gluing factor, the attention that both of you give to each other, the stability, the consistency. And if you're somebody who's come from very inconsistent family patterns or toxic family cycles, this is wonderful for you. And that's where the relationship begins. So initially there is a softness to the Saturn person, and there is a very intense if the moon person had a Saturn dominance, let's say. So if the moon person was a little bit of a Saturn dominant person, so the moon person initially in this relationship is a little rugged, but as the relationship progresses, the moon person softens, becomes more moon. The Saturn person becomes more Saturn. The moon becomes more moon, Saturn becomes more Saturn. And the moon doesn't understand after a point of time why the Saturn is being so harsh. And the Saturn doesn't understand why the moon is also sensitive all of a sudden. The Saturn person has always been this way. The Saturn person has always taken care of the moon. He has been rugged about it from the beginning of this relationship, and that is what has attracted the moon towards this relationship. And all of a sudden she's sensitive about everything, and she doesn't really want the Saturn's harshness or the disciplinarian side of it anymore. And that's where the toxicity begins. So like I was saying, what attracted the two of them in the beginning of the relationship eventually becomes a turmoil as the relationship progresses, and it's really hard for the relationship to break because Saturn and moon are hitched. Like if this relationship happens at a time when you are awfully young, and let's say this person is like your first love, you can't let go of each other. The Saturn person especially can't let go of you. The Saturn person feels responsible towards the moon. He feels the moon can't survive without him. What will the moon do if he's not there? And how is the moon going to survive? That's where the control starts. That's where the relationship gets extremely toxic. And the moon gets sensitive. The moon gets finicky. The moon has mood swings. I mean, let's say this is a Gemini moon. I mean, the moon was like a happy-go-lucky moon and smiling all the time. Free-spirited, and Saturn liked it. Saturn was so attracted to this free-spirited person, and suddenly she's like grumpy, she has mood swings, she doesn't want to go out. I mean, I'm not talking gender specific here, I'm just saying like moon as she as such. So it gets dull. The relationship gets really dull. There is still stability. This relationship can often offer a kind of stability that no other relationship can. And that's why most marriages have such aspects. Sun Saturn aspects, moon Saturn aspects are very, very, very common in marriages because of the binding factor. If you don't have too many Uranian aspect going on, this relationship can go for a very long time. Especially for the comfort level that it provides. Other than that, when the breakup happens, there's no real boundaries. Like, you don't know if you've broken up for a very long time. You don't know if you moved on. Sometimes you move on and you want to come back, but when you come back, you just can't attach back the same way you felt, because the mental trauma that the moon person goes through is extremely, extremely intense. So every time the moon sees the Saturn person, all the trauma seems to resurface. I wouldn't say trauma, just the intensity of the relationship, the intensity of the moon's mood swings and everything seems to resurface, because of which the moon is unable to reconcile. But she wants to, and the Saturn person seems to want it as well. But in most cases, sadly, it's the Saturn person who eventually lets go of the moon. He tends to find the moon as an inconsistent partner who doesn't provide the stability that he's looking for, and that's how the relationship usually ends, if it ever ends. And nobody ever really gets over the relationship, because the nurturing kind of came from the softness of the moon and the harshness of the Saturn. Saturn loves supporting the moon. Saturn found happiness in supporting the moon. Saturn literally nourished itself from supporting the moon, and the moon loved this aspect of Saturn, and there's literally nobody else to nourish the moon anymore. No, and Saturn is already dry, and where is the moon? The moon doesn't even exist anymore. So yeah, there's no closure, literally. So that's my take on Moon Saturn conjunction in Synastry, and let me know what you guys think about it.